Boxing truth here. Let me talk about this James Degale situation. What is all about? James Degale going back to Frank Warren on a fight-by-fight basis. Keep in mind, didn't sign no promotional agreement, which is a little surprising why Frank Warren would take on this situation to allow Degale to be on his card without any further commitment. It's interesting how the deal came about. Al Haymon reached out to Frank Warren, see if he can put him on his card, get him a fight before the end of the year to see how James Degale is physically. Degale needs a warm-up fight, needs a tune-up fight to see where he's at physically, since he's coming off surgery and ass whooping to Badu Jack, and he needs a tune-up to see where he's at physically in order to pursue bigger opportunities in 2018. This link up with Frank Warren is all bullshit. Smoke and mirrors. This is no reconciliation. James Degale had no plans to go back to Frank Warren's cards and to be downgraded to the copper box, fighting in a small ass arena, most likely against a no-hoper for his comeback fight later this year. It's simply because Al Haymon had nothing to offer him in America. Wasn't gonna pay him the type of money that he's accustomed to getting with the paydays he's been receiving in America. Subsidized paydays to fight the Bouttes, the Badu Jacks. But Al Haymon has nothing to offer him, and he can't convince any network to have James Degale come back on their airwaves and expect the type of money that he's been receiving, especially against a comeback opponent and a hand-picked opponent that they're gonna pursue for his next fight in December. So he reached out to Frank Warren to simply put him on before the end of the year, and Frank Warren showed him the money. He opened up his pockets to allow James Degale to headline his show. I'm sure he's doing it to see if he can eventually sign Degale to a promotional agreement. But James Degale ain't gonna sign with Frank Warren. Frank Warren is pretty much just traded places with Eddie Hearn when it comes to James Degale's career. A guy that he promotes but has no control over. Al Haymon calls the shots, picks the opponent. He simply promotes the fight, gets paid his promoter's fee, and then that's it. Degale he answers to no promoter. He's pretty much a free agent. He's being controlled by Haymon. He calls the shots when it comes to his career, and that's how James Degale wants it. And this just proves that Degale will do anything what Al Haymon tells him to do. Al Haymon told him to go to Frank Warren to get a slot before the end of the year, since he has nothing to offer him. And Eddie Hearn is not in the business of losing money and overpaying a fighter just to get a fighter a comeback fight, a tune-up, where he has to overpay Degale since he's used to the certain purses that he's getting. So that's the situation. Degale's an imposter. Got his ass whooped against Badu Jack. Should be relieved of that IBF strap. He's one of the many imposters in boxing parading around as a so-called champion. And now he's been downgraded to the copper box because he ain't no draw. He abandoned his market in the UK. Made his decision. Made some good money in America since Al Haymon was showing him the money. But now that money's running dry, and Al Haymon can't overpay him for some showcase fight. So here comes Frank Warren to come to the rescue. Opens up his checkbook, shows him the money to have him headline his card, and now here he is on a fight-by-fight basis. And it's the only reason why he's fighting in the UK right now, because Frank Warren was willing to pay what Degale wanted for his showcase bout, his comeback fight next month at the copper box. Degale is running out of time in his career. He's pretty much in the twilight of his career. He's coming off ass whoopings, getting his tooth busted out, getting dropped, taking some beatings in that ring. But he's still calling out the top names. Still wants big fights. I'll give Degale credit for this. He's willing to fight anybody. He's got balls. I mean, the guy ain't that good. He's delusional when it comes to his ability. But he's willing to get in the ring and try to prove he's the best. I give him props for that. I mean, the guy called out David Benavidez. He's willing to fight David Benavidez. I think he's crazy for wanting to participate in that fight. It's not really the biggest fight out there for him. And if he was to fight him, Benavidez will end his career. He'll give him another beatdown. A beatdown that he may not recover from. Degale is 31 years old. He's in the tail end. He needs to look out for himself. Try to get the right fight, since he's going to get exposed anytime soon. When it comes to his next opponent, he's going to fight some hand-picked cannon fodder for his comeback fight. It's not going to be a world beater. It's going to be just a lower rated contender within the top 15 of the rankings of the IBF. He might fight David Braffi, Rocky Fielding leftovers. He might fight this German cat Stefan Hartel, who has 1 KO but he's undefeated. It's going to be a tune-up fight. And if he gets past that, most likely he will, he'll pursue perhaps another unification. There's a situation, the mandatory situation, that's unclear with Durrell and Ukataski. That fight was ordered a while ago. There's still no closure on that. There's no news on that. So I don't know what's going on with that situation. So Degale is pretty much clear of mandatory obligations for the time being. But he shouldn't fight David Benavidez. He should wait for the winner of the Super 6 Super Series tournament at super middleweight. Fight the winner of that fight if he can get it. Perhaps move up to light heavyweight to fight Stevenson. Those are the fights that he should take. Not a David Benavidez fight. But I admire Degale's courage. He really wants to prove he's the best. But he's not. He's been exposed already. He's lucky to be champion still. But if he wants to get his ass whooped by David Benavidez, go right ahead. But the best move for Degale is to wait for the winner of that Super World Boxing Series tournament. The Groves fight, the Eubank fight, that's a fight he should definitely take in the future, in the near future, while he still is clear of mandatories and doesn't have to fight David Benavidez. In the Ramirez fight, I'm sure Bob Arum would like to make that fight, but is there really any money in that fight? To where Heyman would even consider doing that fight? Degale is still building his profile in the UK, which is why he's fighting at the Copper Box. Ramirez, not the biggest name, but he's a formidable champion. He's another guy that could put another beat down on Degale and end his career. Put a finish to him as a world-class fighter. But Degale does have options, but he needs to tread very carefully on who he chooses to fight, because he's one ass whooping away from being retired. This is Boxing Truth. I'm out.